I'd like to welcome everybody back to another edition of Foreclosurepedia Podcast. Foreclosurepedia Podcast is a presentation of the Foreclosurepedia Radio Network, which premieres each Sunday evening at 2300 hours. I'd like to speak a little bit tonight about HUD 3.6. HUD 3.6, you can see in a simple Google search, our website is actually listed third. There's really nothing on this. This was the RFB, the request for bid, for want of better words. Went out in March. Was finalized. You can see here July 6th. And it's all the information on it right here. HUD 3.6. What are we talking about here? What exactly is it? Well, back in days of old, out here where we work, this used to be called the, for want of better words, the 1A region. This has actually now been chopped up into the 6A region. The FSMs, by and large, that are involved in the game right now are City Side, A to Z Field Services, AMS, BLM REO. They're really some front people for in Ocean. So what exactly happened? Well, you had four or five FSMs, Field Service Managers, out here. And the asset managers would distribute HUD properties out to the FSMs. The FSMs then in turn would dispatch that work out to contractors like us, Foreclosurepedia, and other contractors. HUD, in its infinite wisdom, and I might as well add here the United States government in its infinite wisdom, which is really probably an oxymoron, found it necessary, instead of putting apples in multiple carts, put them all in one cart. And they've given that one cart to an outfit called PK Management. So let's take a look here. Who is PK Management? What are they about? What do they do? We're not going to run that. It's just a little video here. We don't care too much about it. They're a minority-owned, Florida-based property management company. They are a small business. They've been around about 7 years. Gentleman named Pedro owns it. His COO, Albert Martinez. They have a Director of Vendor Management, Les Sternberg. All of them, by and large, because I've actually interacted with them, because we've had to negotiate out our contract with them. By and large, I mean, I didn't sense anything bad per se about them. Nothing that I keyed to immediately. Mr. Sternberg, out of all of them, really jumps forward the most to me, and primarily because he actually took the time to talk to me. He actually recruited our company. We didn't go to them. And he is very forthcoming with all the information. So, what does this really mean to the contractor? And we're going to get back to PK Management here in a minute. The contractor, whether it be Foreclosurepedia, whomever it is now going to get all their work from one vendor, and that vendor is PK Management. That means that the days where you had to play multiple companies to get a decent workload are now over. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, it all, I guess, kind of depends upon how you look at things. The average contractor is going to say, man, this is great because now I can go ahead and I can get large volumes of work from one outfit. In most cases, that would be true. What I'm concerned about in this instant case, in the case of HUD 3.6, is the fact that PK Management has come in and they've undercut the contract. They have, and they are paying out substantially less than what we're getting from A to Z Field Services right now, by almost 25%, to put a very blunt number on that. I am presuming, although I'm not aware yet, that they're going to have some type of electronic system in place, some type of service management system to at least process the paperwork. To date, none of this information has been released to us. Bearing in mind, they only absorbed the contract 14 days ago, 15 days ago. So, and I'm kind of just, I'm freelancing this podcast, so I hope you'll bear with me, because there's some things, like I say, once again, I'm concerned about. When you talk about contracts, the HUD M&M3, HUD 3.6, how these contracts roll out, you have a representative, a point of contact at HUD. In the specific case of HUD 3.6, that point of contact is out of the Atlanta office. His name is Craig Carnes. I contacted Craig initially, and after that, Craig, I don't know if Craig organized it. I do know that Mr. Martinez, the COO, and Pedro Colacine, who's president CEO of PK Management, and I apologize if I butchered that last name. They got a hold of me. We had a big conversation. We had a conversation because initially PK Management wanted us to take invoices, hold them 30 days, turn them in, wait yet another 45 days, and then get a check mailed out to us with the presumption that their capital was there. Now, I'm not saying they don't have bank accounts. I'm not saying they don't have the capital. I'm saying in a decade and a half, I get real leery about companies who can't direct deposit. So, this is the follow-up email that I wrote. I had the opportunity to speak with Alberto Martinez, Chief Operations Officer, and Pedro Colacine, President and CEO of PK Management Group, on or about the morning of 12 October 2012. The nature of this conversation pertained to concerns which Foreclosurepedia and well over 50 other small business owners had in reference to their award of the HUD 3.6 M&M3 contract with respects to the newly reorganized 6A, formerly 1A region of Tennessee. The below is a recital of the aforementioned, including but not limited to tacit understandings and verbal commitments by same said PK Management officials. Excuse me. It is the understanding of Foreclosurepedia, whose owner, CEO, and president is Crystal D. Mills, that PK Management will commit to a payment of invoicing not to exceed 30 calendar days. Tacitly, we imply that PK Management's financial plan is that they will collectively receive invoicing for 30 days and then transmit a check 30 days later. While we find this to be problematic, we are left with little option as HUD in its infinite wisdom has delegated the contract to them. I want to interject right here for a moment. I am not sure how HUD does or does not do things. I know in the real world, real contractors sit down, and when they're going to deal with multi-million-dollar contracts, they apply what's called a financial stress test to those whom they're doing business with. And when you're talking about taking multiple states, multiple orders in the tens of thousands, and each one of those orders has a burden of $2,700 plus as a cap on them, before you start getting into over allowable expenses. And you toss this out to a small business, you know, these things can get very dangerous very quickly. I'm not implying that PK management can't handle it. I think they can. I think Mr. Martinez expressed that to me. I'm saying that at the end of the day, when we as subcontractors and contractors, and make no mistake, there was 57 other small business owners whom sat down at my round table and we discussed this. When we do not speak up, when we do not enforce the federal law, and the federal law to this contract is these invoices must be paid in 30 days. When we remain silent, we screw ourselves. There's no other PC word to use it. We screw our own selves by remaining silent. So moving forward, the model which we found to be most prudent and viable for the contractors whom are boots on the ground is that which A to Z proffers. Now, we work for A to Z. I want to make very clear here, we have no vested interest in whether or not A to Z stays afloat or not. We just found that A to Z, at least in our experience, and this is predating pyramid real estate being in the business. We go way back. A to Z has had a damn good model. Damn good model. In this, A to Z Field Services rolls 30 days on the original first week of invoicing and then transmits checks weekly thereafter. Now here's the linchpin of this whole discussion. These invoices have to roll and be paid in 30 days. So what they do is your first 30 days, that week of work, pays in that 30 days. And then each week thereafter, you're hitting those 30-day deadlines. Excuse me. As all of us know, the United States government requires 30-day maximum lag in payment of invoicing. In PK Management's proposal, to us at least, only one of 4 weeks will meet this threshold. Barring HUD's intervention in this, we have no alternative. We do, though, estimate there will be at least a 40% attrition rate in bona fide contractors being able to service the HUD 3.6 in the East Tennessee Region 6A. What I'm talking about here is 3 of the 4 weeks are going to be extended out at 45, 50, and 55-day periods as opposed to those 30-day periods. When you start to have to tote 2 months of mortgage, 2 months of vehicle payments, 2 months of household expenses, 2 months of telecommunications expenses, 2 months of fuel to go to these jobs, 2 months of maintenance on your equipment, 2 months of winterization fluid, 2 months of general liability insurance, and other insurances that you're going to hear about here in a moment. And God forbid you are like us and we actually work contractors under us. I mean, it almost becomes insurmountable. And in this, I've brought this up to Mr. Carnes. Mr. Carnes, to date, has refused in any meaningful way to engage the discussion. You can see on this letter you're reading in front of you right now, I've asked for a tracking number. He has refused to give that. This is a government official who has freely, willingly, and with overt intention refused to participate meaningfully with contractors that are boots on the ground. What they are going to end up with, what HUD is preordaining here, is they're going to have a bunch of Craigslist, three-tooth idiots that are high on crack cocaine or God knows what else, going into these homes, and they're going to start gutting them. They're going to attempt in some fashion to hook a generator up, and they're probably going to burn these homes down. When that is done, those neighbors next door are then in dire danger. I mean, we're talking health, safety, and security issues here. HUD remains silent. They don't seem to be concerned about it. PKA Management had originally asked to be named upon our personally owned vehicle insurance registration as certificate holder. We had qualms with that. We just really did. If I'm taking my POV to the movie and I'm involved in an accident, I've immediately created third-party rights to PK management. I'm not saying they would. Once again, this isn't personal. This is business. And the contractors who say, oh, well, you're splitting hairs, or make no mistake whatsoever, the government loves to split hairs. Companies split hairs. They have lawyers doing nothing but sharpening pencils and throwing them at dartboards. These boys lay around on lodestar rate. Lodestar is a Supreme Court case that determines the price a lawyer makes generally, and that's $250 an hour. They have nothing better to do than sue people into the Stone Age, and so what we try to do is head that off at the pass. PK management has verbally agreed not to force their naming upon POV insurance registrations. We find this to be both proper and a relief to a burden, which is inappropriate, as this requirement makes PK management a hypothetical claimant to any off-duty activities of aforementioned vehicles. The draconian requirements of an additional errors and omissions insurance requirements to, quote, protect the HPIR, end quote, and that comes from both Les Sternberg and the COO, Albert Martinez, is still required of PK management. I want to interject here. For 15 years, we've never been asked to tote E&O. While Foreclosurepedia and countless other contractors appreciate the fragile relationship between they and the United States government, never has this requirement been required. We have serviced the HUD contract since the pyramid real estate days. To be blunt, this requirement, as specificity is made to HUD and not the PSR nor 260, I'd interject here, implies that PK management presupposes the ineptitude of the same contractors which it seeks to hire. This burden alone adds an additional $3,000 per year to operational expenses. Upon recapitulation of the aforementioned, the awarding of PK management's HUD contract, at least in East Tennessee, is somewhat problematic. PK management proposes to reimburse contractors $425 for an initial inspection and initial service. This same service is reimbursed $575 by A to Z Field Services. And that's just to choose one company. The additional burdens of E&O, extended payment periods, and other ancillary requirements will make quite a few small business owners in East Tennessee insolvent. I do not know if HUD 3.6 came directly from the White House. Everything I have heard of President Obama, and I have no horse in the race. I don't really even buy into politics. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, to make it quite blunt. There's no difference between a Republican and a Democrat president, because of the fact that they don't do a whole lot anyway. It's Congress. Congress is really who screws the pooch these days. It will, though, make quite a few people have to get out of the business. And this, we're also going to touch on another point. You can no longer do pre- and post-conveyance work upon the same property. We have no choice, however, but to accept this yoke which HUD has lain upon our necks as humble servants and citizens. What we do lament is the fact that Foreclosurepedia employs multiple decorated combat veterans. This, in fact, has been a mission of mine. We will have no option but to pass on the reflection in PK management's pricing to them, which will, most assuredly, ensure they will not be able to participate in any meaningful relationship in HUD's current contract. Once again, Mr. Carnes works directly for the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. The Secretary is a cabinet-level member of the White House. I would presume that the White House had to sign off at some point in time on this, so all I can figure is that perhaps that is, maybe it is not. I don't know. I'm not a political womp. I do know that this contract is going to screw a lot of people. What we are concerned about, we are somewhat concerned by my colleague, Mr. Martinez, as he stated, quote, "We are a small business. As you know, HUD only transmits funds according to contract," end quote. We infer that this was the initial impetus to force the 45-day after 30-day invoicing. What concerns us, not to imply that PK management does not have capital, is the ability for PK management to meet timely transmission of payments. We inquired about direct deposit. You guys probably know it as ACH payments. This is an industry standard in the 21st century and speaks volumes about a corporate mindset, as Foreclosurepedia's business model is both ecologically formed and green in that we have a commitment to save the environment. Additionally, from a fiscal point of view, direct deposit is the avenue that the Obama administration has enacted in almost all payment models. HUD transmits such to PK management. When we entered our data into the ORCA, SAMS, and other systems, we were required to accept such. We see no reason why PK management would not be capable of same said. We're talking pennies a transmission. Pennies. Go to Wave. Wave Accounting, it's free. Have it done there. We're informed that, quote, training will occur on or about 01 November of 2012. To date, Foreclosurepedia nor any of the contractor has been informed of any pertinent information such as the following. Type of electronic management system utilized for data transmission. Are we talking EMS like AMS and Cityside uses? God forbid Property Preservation Wizard or some chintzy off the shelf deal. I mean, ideally, if you're going to take a HUD contract, you need to have an IT department. I will say this about A to Z. I do like them. I like working for them. Their IT is horrific. They still use they use an outdated, out-licensed from 2002, I want to say, program to upload their photos. Only recently did they actually streamline most of their forms. I give them credit; they finally did it. I talked a lot with their gentleman up there, high school, and we got into deep conversations about this. The reality is, in the 21st century, Windows is SH*T. Nobody with any common sense wraps a business model around a proprietarily licensed, slow, virus-infected set of software operating systems. All your smartphones run on Android. What is Android at the end of the day? Linux, Unix. Ubuntu, I contribute code to Ubuntu. I contribute source code to Wikipedia. All Linux-based. How do the servers communicate? Hello, I hope the companies are listening to me. I doubt it, though. Unix. Apache. What is Apache? It's Linux-based. What is PHP? That's your scripts you're running. What is that? That's Linux. Your CSS, oh my God, that's right, your cascading styling sheets, yeah, Linux. Anyway, we don't know to date what the financial institution PK management uses. Policy and internal management policy and procedures, that's just kind of a generic word. Specific to bidding, HUD implementation of protocol, etc., we have no idea. Field offices, A to Z and Cityside both maintain offices in Charlotte. All we have is a Miami address. And points of contact. I want to interject here. I spoke with Mr. Sternberg today at about it's either about 12 or 1300 Eastern Standard Time, and they are going to get some training underway, and I'm presuming during that training and probably via webinar, hopefully boots on the ground. If they don't put some physical training in the field, I'm going to tell you they're going to have the contract about 2 hours. That's it. Because I'm going to tell you, these fly-by-night boys, and I see them every day out here, if you cannot meet deadlines and if you cannot tell your people in the field with a human being precisely how you want stuff done, you're going to have a disaster. You can't run the show from the 5th floor there in Miami. There's just no way. No way. Got to have some boots on the ground. By and large, Foreclosurepedia appreciates HUD's desire to rein in costs. The Office of the Inspector General's September report covers this. A to Z got hit on that. Hey, folks up there, man, you overbilled, or you jumbled the numbers somehow. You guys got hit. We additionally appreciate HUD's attempt, albeit late in the game, to become accepting and inclusive of minority contractual awards. PK Management threw their hat in the ring as a minority contractor. We are extremely dismayed by the fact that while HUD has awarded its latest contract to yet another corporation, it has left those of us whom actually service this contract without a proverbial voice. And in this, I think HUD, and I doubt they'll ever listen to it, and if they do, they'll probably sick their minions on me. But, here's the reality. The contracts that are awarded to these big corporations, that's great, and the paperwork's got to be processed. What are your boots in the ground, and what are they doing in the trenches? Even in the military, and when I served, even our uppers, the brass, from time and again, would say, what's going on, and what can we do to make you both more efficient and to make your life a little bit more pleasant. HUD doesn't care. HUD just doesn't care. Carnes would have gotten a hold of me by now, but he didn't even have time to reply to an email. So, I don't know what we'll ever do on that. Foreclosurepedia stands ready, as it has since the days of Pyramid Real Estate, to assist HUD and its appointed designee in the administration of the M&M3, specific to property preservation, commonly referred to as HUD 3.6. We memorialize this document for several reasons, as we have traversed several designees and White House administrations. You guys need to get a pen out, or you need to start recording, because if you are ever going to open your mouth, you need to make sure your ass is covered. First, in the event that PK Management, and we do not suggest such, attempt to either deny issuance to Foreclosurepedia in either covert or overt methodologies, work orders specific to this contract, or, in the alternative, attempts to place such an extreme workload so as to ensure Foreclosurepedia is not able to comply, we will consider this to be a direct result of our communications with Craig H. Carnes, whom is Atlanta HUD's POC. Point of contact. Second, as PK Management has not transmitted any revised information, Foreclosurepedia may only base its understanding PK Management's intentions upon original documentation transmitted from Les Sternberg. Sorry about the phone there. Director of Vendor Management. To date, Mr. Sternberg has elected freely, willingly, and with overt intention not to engage Foreclosurepedia in any meaningful discussions. That has actually been corrected now, and he spoke with us today. I cannot say why in the past, perhaps because, it was above his pay grade. I don't know. Mr. Sternberg, Mr. Martinez, and Mr. Colakine, at all times when I interacted with them, however, were professional. They knew their product, and I think once all of the little glitches and bumps get ironed out, I think we can all go forward. But the biggest problem, and I'm going to tell you, those of you who are listening in on this, and you think, oh, that could never happen to us, that stuff doesn't happen out here. Let me tell you what. This whole area here, that's right, it used to be called the United States of America. I don't know what we call it today, North American Region 1, God knows what. But I'm going to tell you, they're going to put this whole thing eventually under one contract. I see it coming. The writing's on the wall. It's not going to matter who complains, who does what. what'll have to happen is either A, they bankrupt just about every contractor, small business like we are, and make no mistake, we are a small business, we are female owned, 100% solely female owned. We are a disadvantaged small business. We are an 8 we are an 8 subsection A business. I mean, we hit all of it. You know, we employ 92% of our working folks in the field are veterans. You know, and you know, at the end of the day, I mean, we're going to end up with a serious mess. I mean, HUD has really got to take the lead here. You know, in closing, I want to be fair. You know, I'm not a reporter or anything. I just try to let y'all out there know what's going on. You know, how it's impacting us, and so that hopefully you guys, you know, can either A, say, look, that's some good advice, I'm going to take it, or B, hey, you know what, this is bullshit, I'm not going to take it, and that's fine. You know, information is just that, it's information. But, you know, I don't foresee a lot of problems with PK management, in all fairness. I think, though, that they are attempting to apply a model that perhaps has worked in other areas. For example, if you look over here at, you know, the 1S, I believe they're actually operating out here. You go mow a lawn out there in Nevada, and you're going to take a weed eater, and you're going to take it, I don't know, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. You start getting over in here, right over here into East Tennessee. This last season on the FSMs and BWMs, we would cut and come back 2 weeks later, and that grass is 1.5 feet tall. I mean, we have some properties that are acreages, and I don't know whether or not they even have wrapped their mind around that. In the wintertime, you better have chains. I mean, that's all I have to say on that. You don't have chains, you're not getting around. I mean, you start talking about Sevier County, then in Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg. No, it's not happening. They haven't spoken with us at all on the biweekly MAID or FSM, whatever they're going to call it these days. But I'm going to tell you what, if that number is anywhere below what we're getting right now, there is no way that we can go forward with that contract. And anybody who does, let me tell you, you people have to have, you probably come from Craigslist. And really, at the end of the day, that's the problem with this contract. I'm not saying there's not good people out there on Craigslist. I'm not talking here like Romney did about the 47% of people who don't work. What I'm talking about is when people will go out here and do things for $5 and $10, you destroy the industry. Make no mistake, you may get your little bit of money, but I'm going to tell you what, you're not toting insurance. You know, you're not toting E&O. You're not doing it right. And people like me have to come behind people like you and clean up your mess. And I will tell you this. I'll tell you this for any of you people out there who want to raise hell and piss and moan. And you can post any comments you want on there. I don't care. The video makes money at the end of the day because Google throws its ads on there. I have crocodile skin. But I'm going to tell you this. If I run across you people, I'm going to hang you out to dry. If you don't have your workman's comp or an exemption, I'm going to hang you out to dry. You don't have general liability insurance, I'm going to hang you out to dry. And I told PK Management this. I said, if you go ahead and you guys find a corporation, you start to run an order mill and put all of us out of business, every one of those little Craigslist people better be toting the insurance. You just better, because there's no way we've been in this a decade and a half and we're not going away. And so I'm hoping to actually hear from some of the contractors out there, you know, that are concerned that maybe a model like this is heading their way. Because the only way we are going to affect any change whatsoever without how HUD just randomly throws these contracts out. I don't know if it's bribery or not. I don't know, because I'm not there. I know what I think. I know what my opinion is. But if we all as contractors don't begin to come together with a uniform voice and be consistent in when we raise objections, all of us are going to be screwed. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Foreclosurepedia Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, give me a shout out. COO@foreclosurepedia.org. Thank you.